everyone. My name is Riley Rucker. I am the host of Middle School Career Readiness, a YouTube channel based on providing public safety career readiness to middle school and high school students. And today we have someone from Travis County Sheriff's Office, so I'll let them introduce themselves.
Well, good morning. My name is Kristin Dark, and I am the Public Information Officer for the Travis County Sheriff's Office.
So, what inspired you to, one, join Travis County Sheriff's Office, but two, specifically the public information side of it?
Well, I've had an interesting journey. My career started in television production. I started in college, I should say. I majored in telecommunications with an emphasis in high definition television. This was before HD TV was a broadcast standard in the US. And I worked in high definition technology for a number of years. I spent over 20 years in the television field doing everything from documentaries to feature films to corporate. And one of the things I did in my career was I banked on a technology. The way we went through the transition of black and white to color, I saw the transition between standard NTSC television and high definition being a similar transition. And it went much, much faster. And so I found myself in a position where I was an expert in a technology that had already found its way into cell phones. It was moving so fast, developing so quickly. So it was hard to make a living on that technology anymore. And I was looking for a job that had a steady paycheck, that had good health care. And I ended up picking up a job at the Travis County Sheriff's Office and as an office specialist just to get the health care and the government benefits. And I went there because I like law enforcement. And if I hadn't gone into television production, I thought I probably would end up doing something in the law enforcement field. And so once I got here, my skills as my skills in video production came to the forefront very quickly. I started helping with video evidence. I started working on helping detectives get information from video that I could extract. And then I saw the position of public information officer, and I knew I would be a great fit for that because I had done television news. I had also done television broadcast. And in my own life, I had been through a situation where a loved one of mine was killed due to criminally negligent homicide. So I also had the experience of being a victim of crime. And so this just seemed like the perfect fit. And when the opportunity came to go for this position, I put in for it and ultimately ended up receiving it. So I have been the public information officer here at the Travis County Sheriff's Office for the last 9 years.
Okay, that's a very interesting story. Um, what, what steps or qualifications would you say are maybe not required, but useful to be a public information officer before joining?
Okay. Being a public information officer, first of all, requires a level of comfort with communication. My job on a daily basis requires me to communicate with people, not just by text or email. It's conversation. I'm in conversation with people all day long, and I'm on camera often. So you have to be comfortable with the stress of having a bunch of cameras on you and with knowing what you say is going to be out there publicly. I adhere to the Texas Public Information Act, and a very important part of my job is not only giving information, but protecting information. There's certain information that the state of Texas does not allow us to reveal about people, about cases, about all kinds of different things. And so what I love about this job is I get to know things and I get to tell things. And as a communicator and a storyteller, that is right up my alley. But I also have the discipline to withhold the information I'm not allowed to give and to stand against the pressure of people trying to get me to give information that is not mine to give publicly.
Okay. You mentioned in the first question being a victim of crime, but also having that experience in HD technology. So the next question is, what experience and or training uh, that you had before coming into the sheriff's office helped you for your current position?
One of the main things I did in television production was serve as a producer. And as a producer, I had the opportunity to do all kinds of different production work. And I also had the opportunity to be a storyteller and to communicate. So I was writing scripts, I was producing content, I was working with corporate clients on what their message was and helping them put forward their best image. And so that's what I bring to the sheriff's office. I love to tell the story of this place. I love to share with the community what this agency is doing. When there are hard things to communicate, I'm able to do that in a way that gives the facts and gives it in a way that offers truthful information but also offers perspective. And I think that my role is very important here because public perception can change the way people behave. And if the public gets a perception that is incorrect, it can turn their opinion of our deputies and of our corrections officers. And in this day and age, that can be deadly. So, my position, getting accurate information told well to the public so that they understand they can trust us, they can believe us, we're doing good work on their behalf, is my way of keeping our officers safe.
The next question is, um, on your first day on the job, what surprised you or caught you most off guard by the job? Something you didn't expect to be there.
Man, that is a good question. I have to think back 9 whole years to think of what would have shocked me the most. You know, I think something that has really surprised me in this job is how many people, myself included, honestly, don't really know how the criminal justice system works. I learned a lot when I started working here. I didn't know that whenever you get arrested and you get booked, that then there's a probable cause affidavit that's submitted by the law enforcement agency. And then you see a magistrate judge, and then the magistrate sets the bond. And then if you make the bond, you can be released, and then you come back to trial. Things like that. I've been constantly amazed that not only does the public not necessarily know all the steps of the judicial process, but members of the media don't know it either. And I've often seen reporters report about the criminal justice system or about law enforcement, and they're misrepresenting how the process works. And so I've spent a decent amount of time just educating reporters when they ask me questions about how this works, and then here's what our role is.
I find that very interesting because what we're trying to do here is exactly what you said. We're trying to educate the media on what public safety does, what law enforcement does, and paint them in a positive light and explain what actually happens, whereas the news might not always get it correct. Uh, the next one is, what does a typical shift or a typical day look like for you as a public information officer?
A typical day for me is what I love. Let me just say this. What I love about this job is that no day is typical. I have certain things I do as part of this job on a routine basis, but no day is ever the same. And you cannot make up some of the stuff I know and some of the stuff I deal with. For starters, I'm on call 24/7 because this job doesn't stop and criminals don't stop. So I come into the office. My office hours that I choose to work here are 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. But that doesn't mean I'm not working. whenever I get home, I'm still getting calls from the media. They still have a 5, 6, and 10 o'clock newscast, and they're going to run a newscast at 4:30 in the morning. And if they need information, they're going to seek it from me. So this is a demanding job. It never stops. I'm always available. But the other thing that's really cool about this job is that it's all over the place. So on any given day, I might be writing a speech for the sheriff because she's going to be speaking at some big function. Or I might get a call from the media because there has been a fatality collision on a highway in our jurisdiction and they want to know how many lanes are blocked and how long the roadway will be blocked. Or I might be going out into the community to speak about something or to attend something on behalf of the sheriff's office. It's all over the place. The other thing about my job is that I have to know about everything that happens here. So I don't just have to know about the law enforcement side of our agency. I have to know the corrections side of our agency. So I learn stuff about jail standards and I learn about the penal code and I learn the stuff that our agency does and I keep current on what's going on. I keep current with laws that are being written and how is it going to affect this agency, because these are all the things that the media is going to ask me. So I try to stay current in my knowledge on that so that when I get a question from the media, it doesn't blindside me and I don't find myself not knowing what they're talking about.
Okay. Uh, the next one is, what are the most often type of uh, calls or situations that you have to, um, what's the word, that you have to inform the media about or give a report at the scene to the media for?
Okay. Well, I rarely go to the scene. I only go to scenes if we have something that is a critical incident and highly unusual in nature or something where we need to get information to the public quickly. So I would go to a homicide scene where we're communicating to the public the situation that has happened and letting them know whether or not a suspect is in custody, whether or not people are safe, what there might be, what action items there might be. So I don't often have to go out on the scene, but I do often take phone calls associated with what's going on. And routinely, I take phone calls about traffic collisions that have happened. I routinely take phone calls from the media associated with any kind of call where we have several deputies on scene. Because what'll happen is the public, someone in the neighborhood will call, like they don't call 911 to ask, what are y'all doing? Because they're not going to get that information. So they call the local media and they'll say, hey, I live in this neighborhood and I see a whole bunch of TCSO deputies out here. What's going on? Well, then the news organization calls me and says, we've had a viewer report this. Can you tell me what's happening? Yes, I can. We're serving a search warrant, or we're working a deceased person call, or any number of other things that we might be doing. I work on those calls during the day. And then another thing I work on are communication campaigns for our agency. Something that we might do on social media, something that we might do on our website. Let's say October is coming and October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Well, I may be working on an education campaign that we're going to put out on our website that teaches people how to recognize the signs of domestic violence and what to do if they think they know someone who might be involved and how they can help. Stuff like that.
Okay. And you mentioned your on call 24/7 as a public information officer. So my next question is, uh, if you were to respond to a scene, does the department provide you a vehicle? Do you have to respond in your own personal vehicle? How does that work?
The county provides a vehicle to me, and that is something that I'm so grateful for, because I'm able to leave my home at 2 o'clock in the morning and drive to a scene to talk to the media, and I'm not driving my personal vehicle. Another thing that the Travis County Sheriff's Office does to keep me safe is I work with dispatch. So if I'm going to go to a scene in the middle of the night, I let dispatch know that I'm on my way there. So it goes on the CAD card. It goes on to the incident report that the public information officer is en route. And then once I'm on scene, I let them know I'm there. And then I let them know when I've made it home safely. And if I don't check in a certain period of time, a dispatcher is going to call me to make sure I'm okay, make sure I made it home safely. And I really appreciate that I always have the people I work with here taking care of me and making sure I'm safe.
The next question is, one, how do you directly coordinate with the deputies that you work with? I know Travis County is one of the larger counties in Texas, a lot of deputies, but also how do you coordinate with other public safety departments like the PIOs from Austin Travis County EMS, from Austin Fire, from other departments within your county?
That's another great question. I interact with our deputies all the time. First of all, I see them in the building, but I also make an effort to ride out with them as often as I can, just so that I get a feel for what they do and it increases my knowledge base. And I want to have good relationships with them so that when we have a situation where we have a critical incident and I show up, they know me, they trust me, and we're used to working together on those blue sky days. And the way I work with our deputies and our officers, I let's say I get a call out, let's say that it is a homicide and I'm going to go out to that scene. Whenever I get the call from the media or I get the notification that it's happened and I open up the our VisiNet system and I look at the incident report, I look to see who's there. I look to see who the sergeant is. I look to see who the deputies are who are there. And I'm going to give one of them a call and just say, hey, what do you have? What can you tell me right now? And get the basics from them. And then I let them know I'm on my way. So if any media shows up, just put them in a secure location. And when I get there, I'll take care of it. And as far as working with other agencies are concerned, if we are working on an incident that is multiple agencies, so say we have something where fire and EMS may be there, in the world of public information, the way we work is whoever is the lead agency on that incident, that public information or that public information officer is the lead communicator. So if it's a structure fire and we are there to help evacuate people and to hold a perimeter, I'm not lead on that incident. Fire is lead on that incident. And so I don't speak. If the media calls me and asks me for information, I'll let them know that we have deputies on the scene and this is what our deputies are doing. But I do not speak to that incident because that's the role of the fire PIO. And the same way works with them with me. If the incident is a homicide and EMS is on scene because they were there to treat the patient before the patient passed away, well, if someone calls EMS and asks for information about the incident, EMS is not going to give it because it's not theirs to give. It'll be me who's speaking because the Travis County Sheriff's Office is the lead agency on that incident. And as far as, let me turn this phone off, I'm sorry. As far as relationships go, on the other times, there's a regional public information officer group here that I'm part of. And then I also have colleagues that I work with often. And we get together and we either will go out to lunch together or we'll have some time where we hang out and we just talk about things that have happened recently. And we talk it all out and talk about our roles in it. And we're just friendly with one another, get to know each other and have a relationship where we can lean on one another. And here in the Austin area, we just went through, we're one month out of going through a catastrophic flood in our area. And I worked very closely with public information officers from the fire ESDs and from surrounding counties and from other agencies. And we just recently had dinner together, all of us, to just sit down and talk it out and talk about what what went on with our various agencies, how we messaged it, what went right, what could have gone better, how will we do it next time? And I love those relationships. We make each other better. And when we get burned out or when we struggle or we have a question, we can always call each other and ask for advice.
Okay. Um, the next one is, what kind of technology do you use on a daily basis in your current position, and how would you say has it evolved over the years?
You know, I will say that in my role, one of the greatest things I do is I do not rely on technology for communication. Communication is its personality, its knowledge, and its wisdom. And there's a trend now towards AI communication, towards Chat GPT, and using these tools and just letting a computer write something for you. I don't do that ever. I sit down and I write. And I write based on what I know of this community. I write based on what I know of this agency, and I write based on what I know of the topic. And I don't allow a computer to pull and basically conglomerate plagiarism from a bunch of different sources to develop an opinion. I am the voice of this agency. And I support my sheriff, and I write for that. Now, as far as other technologies are concerned, what I love about this job is all of my technical expertise from television production has come into this job. So I make recruiting commercials for our agency. I produce them, direct them. I have a director of photography that I hire who works with me, and he helps me shoot, and then I do all the editing. I have an employee who works with me named Drew, who is fantastic at graphics, and he builds all the graphics. So I'm still making content for consumers on digital platforms. I just do it in a different place now, and I do it with a different message. So I still stay up to date on camera systems and lenses and editing software and use those high-end skills to make quality content. Another thing I do for the sheriff's office that's not the role of the PIO, but it's something I do because I have the skill set, is I do video forensics. And that's a really interesting thing because I spent 20 years of my career making the best quality television content I could. And now, as video forensics, I spend my career taking video and tearing it apart to try to get to the bottom of how it was generated, what frame rate is it in, what aspect ratio was it captured in, what's going on with this video, and how can I enhance it? How can I fix it? How can I make it better so that we can see what's in it?
The next one is, as we've talked about, you had a lot of training before coming in as the PIO. But what kind of training did your department give you? One, on the law enforcement side of it, but two, as a PIO, what kind of training did they give you for that specific position?
Mhm. There's good training out there from FEMA, and I'm required to take it in order to have this role and to do what I do. But I think the best training I went to was an organization called LEMIT, LEMIT. I went to a 3-day course at LEMIT, and they talked to us and taught us a lot about public information, about the Public Information Act, and about how to just kind of have your battle rhythm through your day and what you're going to do. But one of the most valuable things they did in that course was the last day, they brought in retired news reporters from the Houston area. They were television and newspaper reporters. And these were the crusty old dogs who'd been doing it a long time and had seen and heard everything. And they gave us a scenario and they put us up there on the podium. And those reporters just took after us and asked us questions and put our feet to the fire. And it really gave me a taste It let me feel that anxiety and gave me a taste for what it felt like to have a reporter who's just asking a really good in-depth question, but also how to deal with a reporter who's being aggressive and who's coming at me with unreasonable questions, and how to handle myself. And they gave us tips for how to keep yourself calm and how to take control of the answers and not allow somebody to rattle you, and to be able to give accurate information even when you know how sometimes when somebody catches you off guard, and if they asked you what your middle name was, you probably couldn't even remember it because you're so freaked out. They would help you learn that and get through it. It was really good. Let me turn my phone off now. This phone. Sorry about that.
No worries. The next one is, so as a PIO and in the law enforcement side in the sheriff's office,
Mm-hmm.
you interact a lot with the media, with the public. Um, how do you think that public perception of law enforcement has changed over time, and do you think it's changed in a positive spotlight or in a negative spotlight?
Oh, I think that the perception of law enforcement has changed a lot in my lifetime. I was raised in a time when you were taught to respect authority. And I'm not just talking just law enforcement, authority in general. When I was a kid, you respected adults no matter what. And it was respect for leaders in your school, your teachers, your principal. It was respect for your pastor, people in your church. It was respect for law enforcement, for first responders. And I just remember, my dad is military. And I remember seeing my dad in uniform and just thinking how proud I was of him and how much I love what my dad did for this country. And I was taught not to fear police officers, that you could trust them. And if you needed them, you reach out to them. They're going to help you. Don't be afraid of them. And having so much respect for them. And in my few decades of living, I have seen that deteriorate. And I think it's pervasive. It's in it's in the music people listen to disrespect authority, to hate on people who are representing the law. To it's it is almost it's cool to break the law and to do things that are against the law. Um, Unfortunately, some people think it's cool to get in trouble for breaking the law and to have a criminal record. I've just seen an overall disrespect come into our society for people in the position of law enforcement. And it's heartbreaking to see it because, and now the other thing I have seen also in my lifetime is I have seen people who are in the role of law enforcement who have done things that were very, very wrong. And unfortunately, because of the day and age we live in and the way you can see news all over the nation, I believe that for probably my whole lifetime, there have been people in law enforcement who were not good people, who shouldn't have been in law enforcement, but you didn't know about it because you didn't have the ability to know about it the way you can now. But now you can know about a bad cop in Poughkeepsie, and that one bad guy in Poughkeepsie will paint a picture and become a stereotype for law enforcement across the entire United States. It's not the way things should be, but it tends to be that way. It tends to bias people. And when one person who represents law enforcement does something heinous, all of us have to step up and be twice as truthful, have twice as much integrity, do twice as good a job to counteract that negativity that came into the stereotype of the job. And I feel like we went through a period of time where that negative impact was very, very strong. And I think that we are we're starting to recover from it, but it's not an easy thing. And I think that the fact that there's short staffing in law enforcement and corrections across the United States is showing that people don't want to get into this field because there's so much on the line. And if you're not respected, if you're not treated, if you're not cared for, and if you go into this deadly line of duty and you don't, and you know that people are against you, why would you do it? Like, it takes a certain person to stand in this role and to help others in their moment of crisis and to run in when other people run away and to be that person that sees horrible things and deals with horrible things on a daily basis. On top of that, to have people disrespect you, call you names, to make your life more difficult. I think that the fact that our staffing levels are low is evidence of the fact that fewer and fewer people are willing to step up into this noble role and take the reins. That being said, staffing is starting to recover. I think more and more people are, I'm seeing a generation raising up now of people who are oriented towards something bigger than themselves, towards doing something that matters and doing something that benefits society. And we're starting to see a caliber of people coming back into this career field that is really, really encouraging.
So you answered my next question very well, which was if is there a shortage or a lack of people wanting to join law enforcement? And as you said, it's starting to recover
Mm-hmm.
with people joining. That's kind of what we're trying to do with, or that is what we're trying to do with this channel, to educate people on what these careers in public safety are, the wide variety of roles within public safety, and how they can join to try to get more and more people at an early age in middle school and high school to try to join these careers to help you guys out to get more people uh, involved. So I'm
Yeah.
glad to hear that it's starting to recruitment starting to come back.
Yeah. And I think
Um,
that we went through, especially after COVID, teleworking was a big deal. And people were gravitating towards jobs where they could telework. And I'll tell you, I'm not a person who can telework very well. Like, I need to be in the middle of things. I need to be moving around. I need to be out there and doing stuff. Uh, but that was a really strong, attractive element for a while. And I think we lost employees because they could go and take a job where they could work from home and do the teleworking thing. But I think that people who are drawn to this career field, they're the kind of people that want to get up and do something. And that's something you have to know about this career field. You're not going to work from home. You are going, it's shift work, number one. You're going to have a shift because we're 24/7. So if you like to work at night or if you need a job that's flexible that way, that's a cool thing about this. You're going to be active. You're going to be moving around, whether you're in our jail and you're working in a pod or you're working wherever area of security you're doing, you're going to be moving around and you're going to be active. Our deputies are all over the place. Our jurisdiction covers 1,100 square miles. We are busy, we are moving around. And man, if you are that kind of person, if you're like a shark, you just got to be moving all the time. You got to have stuff going on. This is a great job for you.
all right. What would you say is the toughest part of your job?
Oh, by far, the toughest part of my job is knowing something that I'm not allowed to tell. There are a lot of times when the media will ask me something and I know the answer to it, but I'm not allowed to tell it. So I'll be on a scene of a homicide and they'll say, can you tell us how the person died? Well, I know how many times that person was shot. Or they'll say, can you tell me the caliber of the weapon? Or do you know what kind of weapon was used? Yeah, I know that it was a 9 millimeter and I know that he was shot 5 times. But I can't say that. I can't give that information out because that compromises the case. Because our detectives need for only they and the person who did this to know what caliber of weapon was used and how many shots were fired. And so I have to hold that to protect the case. But when somebody asks me something that I know, I like to tell it. So I have to put that filter on, and I have to make sure that I hold that information securely to protect the investigation.
Okay, the next one is emotionally and I guess you say psychologically, how do you handle some of these more tragic or hard calls when you're brought to the scene to speak to the media about a specific incident?
Oh, yeah. For me, this is where my faith comes in. I have a firm foundation in my faith, and I I know that God is sovereign over what is going on, and I trust him. And I am able to do business with what is going on because I know that ultimately he's in control and he has this. So I personally don't hold on to these tragic things. I pray about it, I work it out through him. Not everyone has that. The other thing I have here is an incredible support system of people around me who are also going through it with me. The deputies are out there with me on those scenes, and they are seeing things that even I don't have to see when we go on the scenes. The other thing is because I had a loved one who was killed in a criminally negligent homicide, I know what it feels like to have your loved one be the one behind the crime scene tape. It hurts. And I believe that that has perfectly equipped me for this job because I know when I go to that crime scene that I know that about the death of somebody before that person's mother knows. And that is a privilege and that is a responsibility. I have the responsibility to make sure that what I say to the media about this person who has died is not going to hurt that family any more than they're already hurting. And I have the responsibility to make sure that the information I give out does not compromise this case in any way, because I want to make sure that family has every single chance they have at justice. So I'm going to do everything I can to protect that family and to protect that case. I'm going to do on the back end what people will never see that I do is I protect that family from people getting access to them. Because unfortunately, part of what happens now is that people who are trying to tell a story or want information will try to find who that family is and get to them to see if they can talk to them. And no organization has the right to access to them. If the victim family reaches out to the media and says, I want to talk, that's one thing. But if they want to be private and they want to be protected and they want to grieve without everybody watching them, I do everything in my power to make sure that happens, to take care of them.
Okay. The next part of it is there a particular call that has uh stuck with you from your time with the sheriff's office, and why did that particular call, uh, aside from the others, stick with
Mm. It's interesting. When I drive around Travis County and I drive certain places, I remember the calls that I went out to. I remember that I went here for that, and I remember that this happened over here, and I remember that this happened over here, and I can see them back in my mind. We recently had a call that I went to, and it was a double shooting, and one of the decedents involved is an employee here at the sheriff's office. And when I got on that scene, I saw family members who were devastated and who were crying. And I passed those family members on my way to go talk to the media. And I just had that image of this family, this devastated family, fresh in my mind as I stood before those cameras. And I gave a professional presentation. I gave the information. I gave it with care and with as much dedication to it as I always do. But what was so interesting is that I had so many people from the sheriff's office who texted me that day and said, "Are you okay?" And they said, "You were not yourself." I like they know me well enough that they saw in my personality and on my face that something was affecting me. And I didn't realize it was all over me like that. And that one, I think, moving forward will always stand out to me, not just because of the emotion that was involved in giving that statement to the media, but because it meant so much to me that the people I work with know me well enough to know that I was hurting and reached out to make sure I was okay. It just meant the world to me.
I think that's one thing that's good about um, public safety in general, whether it's law enforcement, fire, EMS, the camaraderie that all the employees have that, like you said, they know when something's not right and they don't just leave it at that. They actually reach out to you and ask you if you're okay, how they can help.
Yes, absolutely. I totally feel like I'm part of a family, and I know that if I ever need something, I can ask any one of them to do it, and they will drop everything and help. And I'll do the same for them. And the thing is about me, look at me. I'm not an athlete. I am not, I'm not ever going to be a sworn peace officer. I'm not going to wear the stars and bars, and I'm not going to be the one that goes in there and busts the door down and saves people in their moment of distress. But I have a big mouth and I have command of language and communication, and I will have their six every day in this world that I do. And the thing that's really fun about this job is that most of those people who are so brave and who do these things that just blow my mind are absolutely petrified of public speaking. They will not do it. They see a camera, they don't want anything to do with it. And so I think that they're as glad that I'm willing to step up and do that part as they are willing to do the other part. Because so many times they're like, "I don't want your job. I would not want your job." And I'm like, my job's great.
Let's see. So the next question is, we talked about how you communicate, how you work with, how you build trust with your deputies, your employees throughout the sheriff's office. But how do you build trust and strong communication between you and the public or you and the media in your current position?
It's between me and the public is challenging because whenever I give information to the media, they edit me. So it's not like I can totally control what the public sees and how they perceive me. So I work hard to make sure that when I speak, my tone is approachable, my manner is approachable, that I come across honest and believable. I use plain language. I'm not arrogant so that they can see that I'm genuine in what I'm saying. And I also try to make sure that I speak in quick sound bites that give information succinctly so that in that 3 to 7 seconds that they're going to pull, that whatever they took from me is going to make the public go, "Yeah, okay, got that." The thing I do in order to help the media choose the information I give well is develop strong relationships with them. And that is communicating on a daily basis with honesty and forthrightness. If the media calls me, I call them back. I either take their call or I call them back. I do not ignore phone calls, and they know that. The other thing I do is if I can't give you information, I'm going to tell you why. Because information is power. And it's always important to make sure that the media, especially, but also the public knows that if I'm not going to give something, I'm going to tell you why I'm not going to give it. So when you ask me how many times was the decedent shot and what was the caliber of the weapon? I'm going to say, I can't answer that for you because the investigation is ongoing. The case is open, and there needs to be elements of the case that only the detectives know, so that when they talk to a suspect, when they hear certain details, they know they've got the right person. And that allows the media and the public to know I'm not withholding it because I have something to hide. I'm withholding it because I have a purpose that is going to protect our case.
The next one is what's maybe uh, a misconception that people have about your job in particular or law enforcement in general?
I think a misperception people have about my job in particular is they think that I have information quickly that I don't. Oftentimes the media will hear on the scanner that TCSO is on their way to a critical incident, and the media will call and say, hey, what can you tell me? I can tell you nothing. Like you just heard it on the scanner. Our guys are driving there right now. They are not like, and everything that I have right now is based on a 911 call and what's been dispatched out. And at least 60% of the time, the person who calls 911 doesn't have all of the information correct. I'm never going to go public and give information based on what a 911 caller said. My role as the public information officer is to give fact, not to give speculation, not to give, what was said. So I'm going to inform the media once a deputy gets on scene and has looked at what we're dealing with. What is it? What have we got going on? And what are we doing to address it? And it's always interesting to me when either the public in general or the media or a reporter thinks that I should already have a command of what's going on when we're in the very, very early stages of responding to it. That's generally when it's like the most chaotic time. And that's when you don't want to be sharing information because odds are half of what you share would be incorrect because you got to shake it out and figure out what's going on before you can put it all in order and decide what happened.
Okay, getting into our last several questions here. Um, what would you say is the most rewarding part about your job at the sheriff's office?
Oh, 100% taking care of victims. I got to do a lot of really, really great things in my career. I got paid to do sporting events. I got paid to shoot Major League Baseball games. I got paid to interview the President of the United States. I got paid to do things that nobody gets to do, and they were really cool. But at the end of the day, nothing feels as good as taking care of a victim, as knowing that I have a role in helping somebody who's going through something horrible that they did not bring upon themselves. A crime has been committed against them. They've lost a loved one in a way that they can't even fathom. They don't even know what they need. They're hurting so bad. And they may never even know that I helped in any way. And that's okay. What I do in this office takes care of them. And that feels so good. It gives me a purpose in this job that gets me up every morning and gets me excited about what I do.
Let's see. The next one is what advice do you have for someone who is A, looking to join law enforcement, or B, looking to join your job in particular within law enforcement?
If you are interested in law enforcement in general or in the role I have, I would say start learning everything you can about it. Get curious and delve into it. Learn about it through books or through video, whatever you can find. But the best way to learn about it is find somebody who's doing it and ask them if you can spend some time with them and ask them questions. Or can I shadow you for a day and learn what you do? Just see if you can find a way to connect with it and explore it, see how you feel about it, and then go after it. If you think you want to do like what I'm doing, pursue it, go after it.
Okay. And then the last question is, if someone is looking to join Travis County Sheriff's Office, they're at the right age, they're looking for law enforcement jobs, uh, how would they do so? How would they go about doing it?
Our website is tcsheriff.org. And whenever you get to our website, you can click on the careers button and you can see all of the current, you can see all of the current opportunities we have. I'm going to tell you, this is a great place to work. Austin is a very, very interesting city that is growing. It's one of the fastest growing cities in the United States. It's got everything is here. Like what's really cool about the sheriff's office, like when you work for the police department, you're going to work in the city and you're going to do certain things within the police world. At the sheriff's office, you're working in the county, you're working in the unincorporated areas. So you're going to do police work, but we also have all kinds of other specialized things. We have an estray unit. We have a unit of the sheriff's office that's dedicated to dealing with with livestock that have gotten away, because there's nothing worse than going 60 miles an hour and hitting a cow. That will kill somebody in a car. So we have deputies whose job it is to wrangle that livestock and get it back where it belongs. And we have herding dogs that help them do it. And then they figure out whose livestock it is and how do we secure this property and how we make sure that the owner knows that his livestock is out. We have a lake patrol unit. We have 33 square miles of a lake that we patrol. So we have deputies that work on the lake. We have the canine division. We have the SWAT division. There's all kinds of different specialty things you can do with the sheriff's office. And we have a community that's rural. So you're not in the city. You're mostly out in the country and you're dealing with all kinds of different things that happen in this world. And all that, I feel like I'm getting off course, but all that to say, there's that whole world, and then we have the entire corrections side of it, where these are the people who work in the jail. And our jail has a nearly 3,000 capacity jail. We have, I think, 2,300 people in our custody right now. Our jail sits on 100 acres of land. It's like a small town. So it has laundry and it has a kitchen and it has the chapel and it has an entire medical clinic. It's got all these different jobs. There's classes there. We teach GED classes, parenting classes. We have all these programs. So you could get a job working here in the corrections division and literally work as part of that small town that runs 24/7 and does all the kinds of different things that any town would do just behind the fence line. There's all kinds of different things to do here. Everything from law enforcement to corrections to nursing to chaplain, you name it, we got it.
So before we end, do you have any questions for me?
Well, obviously you're interested in public safety and what we do. What are your career aspirations?
So my plan is to get my EMT in high school. After that, to go to college at UT Austin.
Okay.
Uh, while
Baylor's
at
pretty nice
UT,
too. Sick and bears.
while while at UT Austin, I would like to work with the Austin Fire Department. Um, and then also while in college, do ROTC, which then by the time I graduate, I will be able to join the military as a non-commissioned officer.
Uh-huh.
And then uh, once I do that, I would like to be a medic for the Marines. However, the Marines don't have their own medics. They use the Navy medics. So I would have to go into the Navy, go through all of that, and then be able to serve with the Marines as that medical element. Um, and then after I get out of the military, my plan is to join DPS and be Texas Ranger,
Mhm.
and then that's as far as I've gotten with that.
All right. Well, when you get accepted to the University of Texas in Austin and you are here in our city, I hope you will stop by the Travis County Sheriff's Office and take a tour with us and ride out with our guys and experience us and just get a taste for it. We would love to show you around.
I've actually passed by one of the stations before. I used to live, or my dad used to live, and I would visit him in Hudson Bend,
Uh-huh. Yeah, that was
which
our West
is,
Band.
yeah. So we'd pass by that every day when I was over there. So,
Very cool. Well, my dad is a retired Navy captain, so I'm pretty excited that you're going to spend some time in the Navy to get to your goal.
mhm. All right. Well, that's going to be the end of our episode. For those of you who are watching, thank you for waiting till the end. This was an interview with the PIO from Travis County Sheriff's Office. Thank you for being willing to do this interview. I know you said uh, you never ignore phone calls. Thank you for not ignoring my email.
You're
Um,
welcome. I was happy
we
to do it.
have emailed a lot of people, and some of them either say they can't do an interview or they just plainly don't respond. Um, so I thank you for making the time to do this. Um, for those of you who are watching, I know we had a date set for our transition into Texas Youth Career Readiness. That has been postponed due to some technical difficulties. Um, we are still looking to make that transition. We are still accepting funding. Um, so if you would like to donate, the Cash App link will be in the description for that. All donations are currently going into filming equipment, as well as our first episode of the transition, which is um, hopefully going to be a collaboration with us and another YouTube channel. So be on the lookout for that. And once again, thank you, Kristin, for
Mhm.
taking the time out of your day to do this interview.
Happy to do it.